Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nikki LaRose. If you're new here, I'm a professional makeup artist that's based in Los Angeles. And for today's video, I am sharing one of my signature makeup looks, this one right here. So if you want to see how I get this look, then keep watching. To prep my eyes a little bit more than they are already, I'm just going to use a dot of the Rose Ink Concealer in LX050. I don't know why I'm confused by that, the name of that concealer, but I'm going to do a little dot and a little dot. And then blend it out with a BK Beauty A506 brush. This is an anti-hot and flashy brush. Blend and tap it onto my eyes. As usual, I have my eyebrows on. Just keep it a little bit shorter in time because otherwise it would be a very long video. Now to go on to another product for our eye base, I'm going to use the GIRLACTIK Shadow Stick in the shade Nutmeg. This is like a staple product for me. I have one for myself and I have one in my professional makeup kit, and I'm going to use this to create a base for the rest of my eyeshadows to go on top. I love good shadow sticks, like shadow sticks that I know will like blend out easily. They will prevent creasing with the rest of my eyeshadows on top. This is one of those formulas that I can trust to wear as a base or wear just by itself. So I'm going to blend it out with a BK Beauty 212 brush. And then with whatever's left over, once I've initially blended out most of the product, I just like to start to sweep it outward towards my temple. It's gonna look, very subtle, but I love to just pull the shape of my eyes further out. That's just, when I think about like a signature eye makeup look that I do regularly, this is like one of those key steps in order to like get that look. Now it's not gonna seem like super impactful at first, but once we start to layer the other shadows on top, it'll come together. Now I'm gonna add just a little bit more of the shadow stick and just kind of layer it. So there are a lot of days throughout the week where I'm going to work, I'm incredibly pressed for time, and I will just throw this on and I'll even just set it with a little bit of bronzer, like whatever powder bronzer I'm using that day. Honestly, that's like just one of my go-to really quick, really natural eye makeup looks throughout the week. I'm gonna grab the GIRLACTIK Essential Eye Palette. So I'm gonna take a BK Beauty 202 brush, dip into skin, pat off the excess, and just start to layer this onto my eyelid and into my crease. So you'll notice I like to start the initial application of my powder eyeshadow where I want it to be the most saturated in color. And then from there, since I am going for more of, well, I'm always pretty much going for darker in the outer corner and then lightly lighter as you go towards the inner part of the eye in the spot that I know I want to be the darkest, and then blending it outward or inward wherever you're going. It's just gonna make it a lot easier to blend the product on. So always start in the area of the eye that you want to be the darkest in general and then blend it out from there. So just layering this beautiful, it's kind of like a caramel or like a butterscotch brown. And this formula is super buttery. It's really richly pigmented, but it's very easy to blend on. It's not like so pigmented that you have a hard time blending it out. Sometimes if formulas have just too much color behind them, but to be honest, they can just be really hard to work with. But this is easy to layer. It's easy to blend. Oh, like that color alone is just one of my favorites. So onto this eye, I'm gonna do the same technique. I'm gonna apply majority of the color in the outer corner and then blend it inward. Next color I'm going to dip into is the shade Spice. It's a much deeper brown and I'm using the same 202 brush. This time I'm going to layer this just in the outer corner of my eye. And what this is doing is just building up the intensity and building up more depth. I love a lot of depth and richness in color in my outer corner of the eye. And then with whatever's left over, I'm going to softly just blend that into the socket of my crease. On to the next shade, I'll be using a Rephr 28 brush and just picking up on Ballet. And I'm going to keep this more in the inner corner of my eye. This is like a really pretty, almost like a smoky mauve, like a light smoky mauve. Okay, we're gonna take a break from shadow for a second. I'm gonna grab my GIRLACTIK. It's the Longwear Gel Eyeliner in the shade Pure Brown. This is a twist up pencil. I love this pencil to tightline my top lash line, so that's exactly what I'm gonna start out with doing. Just really getting in there. This pencil is great because it's very long wearing. I usually use this like Monday through Friday in my waterline and it doesn't run or like, get messy on my lash line. It stays put, even in a really wet area like your waterline, obviously. Just get it all across. Now I'm gonna take a little bit more and just bring it slightly on the outer edges of my eye. And this is gonna act like a base for me to then blend a deeper brown shadow on top. Now it's gonna look messy at first. So to blend it out, I'm gonna take a BK Beauty 204 brush and just gently tug at my skin a little bit and just start to work this and smoke it out a little bit. I like to mix these next two shades together. I'll mix Spice with a little bit of Bark, and then I'm gonna layer this and pat it on top of that brown liner that we just smudged out. Same thing on this side. I think what I love the most about these colors, like this combination of colors together, is it's a really pretty and like flattering mix of cool tones and warm tones. So we have like some warm, rich browns. We have the cool tone on the eyelid. The smoky brown is definitely more leaning towards like a neutral but cool side. So it's nice to be able to like mix. It's kind of like mixing your jewelry, right? Like you can mix your metals. It looks really cool. It gives it like a whole vibe. Blending out that existing shadow that's on my brush even more. Now I'm gonna move on to one more different shade in this palette. And grabbing a 210 brush from BK Beauty, I'm gonna dip into one of my favorite colors in this palette. It's so unique. It's the shade Lace, and Lace is basically, it's a cream, like a frosty, shimmery cream shadow. It is stunning on. Now, usually I use my fingertips to apply this, and I'll apply it like at the bulk of my eyelid. But for this look, I want to keep this in the inner corner of my eye, like my inner tear duct. So that's why I'm using a little brush for that, so I can really get in there and be a little more precise with my application. But it's just a stunning, shimmery, like champagne tone. Every time I use this color in particular, I always think of like bridal makeup and like how I used to do bridal makeup. This is like one of those colors I would have used constantly as a bridal makeup artist. So as you know, I like to just bring this all around like the side of my nose even. So not just right in my direct tear duct, I like to bring it all along the side. This helps to further elongate the look of your eyes and just make them look even bigger than they are. Just cheating a little bit, popping it along the side of my tear duct, and then using my fingertip, I'm just kind of pressing it in. Now to get more of my signature eye makeup look, I'm going to take two of my favorite things, micellar water and just pointed Q-tips. So looking straight into my mirror, I'm leaving my bottom lash line because it's going to be a smoky bottom lash line anyway, and I'm only going to add to it. And now we get to the real fun part. I'm going to use a liquid liner. I love this one from GIRLACTIK. It's the Precise Eyeliner Marker. It's in black. Now don't be intimidated by the long felt tip pen. I actually think this makes it easier for people to create a wing liner. So I'm gonna actually move my mirror a little bit closer. I'm gonna angle my marker going out. So kind of pulling it in an outward direction as opposed to this way. I'll flip flop it, but I'm gonna start initially in this direction. And I'm gonna line this up to my top and bottom lash line and just pull up my initial line. So that's my initial line. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna go back and fill it in. So same thing, I'm gonna line this up with my top and my bottom lash line. Start slow. Okay, now I'm gonna flip going back this way, and I'm gonna close my eyes gently, and I'm gonna get this as close to my lash line as humanly possible. This is gonna create more of a thicker, more dense looking lash line before you even put like mascara or false lashes if you're gonna do that as well. This will just create that initial like depth that you want before you even go in with those products. And now I'm gonna start to work in filling in this corner of my wing. Okay, we can all take a deep breath because our liquid liner is on. That's always, you know, to get it like pristine and right, you just gotta slow it down and not breathe for a couple seconds or a couple minutes while you do it. I've been getting back into curling my lashes. It's something I forget to do just most days, but I'm gonna curl them with the Refer lash curler. This is a bomb lash curler. So let me curl these really quick. I can move on now officially to mascara. This is actually one of my favorite formulas, and I'm so happy to have it back in my possession because I ran out a long time ago. It's the GIRLACTIK Lash Play Duo. There's a lengthening side and then a detailing side. I typically love the detailing side for my like more delicate short bottom lashes. I'm gonna start with the lengthening. This also thickens my lashes, but in not a clumpy way, which I really like. I don't have to be super careful with this formula. It doesn't clump easy. It doesn't flake throughout the day, any of those things. So I love it for all those reasons. So I'm going to switch to the detail side. Turn around, get this little wand. I also like to use the little wand to kind of separate my lashes even more. And I'm not doing false lashes because I just don't want to take away from beautiful eye makeup look. And sometimes when you put lashes on, it can really tend to cover up majority of your eyelid space. And we just worked so hard to create this look. So I'm not about to cover it up with some false lashes. And also I don't need it when I use this mascara. I have such good length and volume and thickness. We're going to move on to some face stuff. And for that, I'm going to use the Kosas Glow IV in the shade Radiate. I'm going to put this down first as like my glow from within kind of base before I put my foundation on top. The number one way that I like to use this product actually is underneath my makeup. So I'm just going to pump out a little bit. A little bit of this goes a long way, just an FYI if you're someone who's going to use it at home. And I'm going to apply this with a BK Beauty 109 brush and get ready for the glow. It's insane. Like, look at that. I'm just going to get my entire cheek. It's okay if it goes a little far down. I'm gonna get all across my forehead, get along my temple so we can have a glowy temple. It's just so pretty. It's so ridiculously pretty. Like, I'm thinking of like a signature makeup look of mine. It has to involve some kind of liquid illuminator because I love liquid illuminator so much. I'm gonna get my chin, pretty much getting my whole face, except for above my lip. I avoid that area. And then I'm gonna get also down the bridge of my nose. And then with whatever's left over, which is not much. This is what I love to do as a makeup artist. I do this for my clients. I'll always get their décolleté or décolletage, whatever you want to call it. It's hard to do that on yourself. It's much easier to do on your clients, that's for sure. To do a little under eye prep and color correcting, I'm gonna try a new product. This one's from Exa. You know I love their foundation, so I'm excited to try their color corrector. They sent me the shade Pink. So I just want to try a little bit of this under my eyes. I'm gonna pop a little bit right here and just tap it in with that BK Beauty brush. For a signature makeup look of mine, I had to bring out one of my all-time favorite foundations. It's the House Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation in 230 light medium cool. Just a little disclaimer, I would ignore the fact that it says it's a cool tone because this is not a cool tone foundation. And I'm going to apply it with a Real Techniques. This is a very old brush, old school Real Techniques brush. It's a 204 brush. I am not sure if they make this anymore, just to be completely honest, but you know what? It's clean and it was calling my name and it wanted me to use it. So we're going to work this gorgeous foundation on top of that liquid illuminator. So pretty. On top of the nose. The reason why, I mean, I have so many reasons actually why I love this foundation. I have talked about it. I feel like to the point where I need to stop talking about it, and that's why I kind of chilled on using it, to be quite honest, on my YouTube and like on my Instagram, because I was using it so much. I need to give other brands and other products a fair try as well. But one of the reasons why I love it is it just melts on to your skin. It's just a buttery, rich, beautiful formula, and it leaves you with the most flawless, satiny skin. I love this finish so much. And I will say, in my opinion, a little bit goes a long way with this foundation as well. Like, you don't need, I already pumped out way too much actually. Less is more. Now we're gonna move on to contour. I'm going to grab the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick in medium. And I like to apply it with a BK Beauty 107. It's a little bit more of a fluffy brush. So what that does is just give me like a very soft, warmed up effect, like a soft contour basically. So I'm getting a good amount on my brush. And then from here, I just like to pat it in. And actually, I love the way this formula bronzer sits on top of this foundation. I think this is a great combo. Like, they work really, really well together. So just pressing that on. It basically does all the work for me, like between this formula, the foundation, and the brush that I'm using. It's just really easy. Like, blends on, glides on, super easy. So now I'm gonna warm up my cheeks and just lightly shade them. I'm not gonna say contour because I am using a very warm tone bronzing stick right now. So this is not contouring, this is just warming up my skin, essentially. Okay, a little bit on my jawline, just a little bit underneath my chin. Now I'm gonna switch my brush to a BK Beauty 206 brush. Same bronzer, I'm gonna dip into it. I'm gonna start at the underneath part of my nose and sweep it right up. And I'm gonna connect it to that medium brown shadow that I actually swept out towards the side of my nose much earlier. It's gonna just connect and blend into that. Same brush, I'm going to pinch it, flatten it, and I'm just going to shade my lips. This is definitely one of my signature moves. I cannot live without doing this on myself and also on my clients. Most of my clients want their lips to look bigger. Most. Respectfully, most of them do. And I totally get it if they don't. A lot of them love the look, and so this is like an absolute game changer. Like, you have to do this if you want your lips to look naturally fuller. This is the ticket. Not overdrawing your lips with lip liner. It's doing this pre-lining with bronzer. I don't do this with contour because contour is too gray. It's too of a cool tone. It'll just look weird. You have to use a bronzer, like a warm tone bronzer. Now, once that is done, I'm just going to run this on my lips. This is my foundation brush. It has like the tiniest bit of foundation. In fact, I'm going to rub off the excess and I'm just going to pat it. And now I'm going to switch back to that Rose Ink concealer that I used so much earlier and just use this as my under eye concealer. So we're going to take this. This is a very messy doe foot, just an FYI. So I'm going to wipe off a lot of that product because I feel like that wiper is not doing its thing correctly. And if you're a new subscriber watching this and you haven't seen like many of my tutorials, then welcome. And this is a signature way that I like to do my concealer. I love to, of course, bring the outer portion of my eyes and give them a lift up. Now I'm gonna take a damp camo sponge from e.l.f. Cosmetics. I love this little $6 sponge, and just tap it in lightly. Now what I'm doing actually is just, I'm doing my initial blend of this concealer, but then I'm gonna walk away from it for a second and let it dry down a lot more before I blend out the rest of the edges. This will just make sure that I maintain most of the coverage without soaking it up. And that's another reason why you wouldn't wanna soak your sponge. Like, this is barely damp, to be quite honest. Like, I dampened this hours and hours ago and I soaked up all the excess water. If this was much wetter than it is right now, it would just be soaking up a ton of that coverage. And for blush, I'm going to use the shade Dusty Rose from Makeup by Mario. Dusty Rose is beautiful. It's going to kind of play off that cool tone, almost mauve look that I have on the inner part of my eyelid. And I'll be applying it with the same BK Beauty brush, that 109 that I applied my liquid illuminator on earlier. And so I'll be tapping into the blush. Another thing I like to do is kind of pre-blend it into my hand before it hits my face. This will ensure that I get a seamless, much more like flawless application of this blush without having to work too hard to blend it into my skin. My makeup is very carefully placed underneath right now, and I don't want to disrupt it by having to over blend this blush. So we're working smarter, not harder. Be nice and gentle. I love this color. This is like one of my favorite shades of blush. For me personally, for a signature makeup look of mine, I like to avoid going too low on my cheeks. That just brings down the appearance of my cheeks, and I already have pretty heavy cheeks. Like, my cheeks are a big part of my face. I have big cheeks, and I don't want to go too low with my blush because then that would just bring the appearance of my face overall down, and I'm trying to give it a lift. So bringing that blush much further up, even on top of that bronzer, and up towards my temple. With whatever's left over, I'm going to sweep it just in between my forehead. And now same thing on this side. Just lightly patting it in. The fact that this brush has like a slight, it's like an angle to it, it just kind of perfectly pushes the product, like those cream products, into your skin. Okay, just finishing up this blend, making sure it's nice and even and it's as deep as I want it to be. I think I'm going to add a little more blush on this side. I feel like I need a little more. So taking a teeny bit of whatever's left over on that same brush, I'm just going to work this literally in the very center of my nose, across the bridge. This gives any makeup look a beautiful, cohesive quality. If you are ever struggling and your makeup is just not coming together, it's not like tying together, it doesn't seem like it is like related in any way, try that technique and that'll just instantly bring that cohesiveness that is sometimes hard to get. So blush is done. I'm going to switch to a clean 286 brush from MAC, and I'm just going to use this to blend out any creasing under my eye, along the side of my nose where I had that concealer, and then we're going to go in and we're going to set it. We're going to take a bunch of loose powder. This is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder in the shade Cupcake. Now what I like to do is just dump some out into a tissue, and by some I mean a lot. Taking a pink powder puff, any powder puff will do. I love these, they're on Amazon. I'll make sure I link them in the description box of this video. They are not a one-time use, you can wash them and use them over and over again. The finish that this powder puff gives in particular is perfection. I'm going to show you how much powder I have on my powder puff. It's a good amount. For me personally, I love powder under my eyes. I love a good amount. I love the finish it gives my face. Looking up a little bit, line this up with the side of my nose, bring it out towards my temple. I like to make sure I powder along the side of my mouth. This is an area of my face that I just don't want any shine. And then between my brows, it's another spot that I want to make sure I'm nice and matte. And then with whatever's left over, which is not much, I'm just going to lightly press that into the top of my forehead. Okay, just when you thought we were done, we're going to go back to the eyes and we're going to do the bottom lash line. This is an essential way that I love to do my eyes. I never leave out the bottom lash line unless I'm going for that kind of specific look. I love to smoke out my bottom lash line. So I'm going to use the same two shades I used in my crease on my bottom lash line. So I'm going to start with that 204 brush from BK Beauty and a little bit of spice, just a little bit, and start this in the outer portion of my eye. And now grabbing a BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy, it's an A504. I love this little blending brush. I'm going to dip into skin, tap off the excess, and run this on the bottom lash line, going all the way across this time. Now, bottom lash line is done. That's it. It was that easy. Now I'm going to take the detailing side of my mascara, because again, I love this little brush for your bottom lashes. Perfection. So being careful still. Like, how good is that mascara on the bottom? It would not be a signature makeup look if I didn't powder my lips, so this is just something that I gotta do. Okay, now to set my bronzer into place, I'm just going to give it a light dusting of the Make Skin Mimetic Micro Suede Bronzer in the shade Lunar, and just a big powder brush. And I just like to hit the very top just to really lock that cream bronzer into place. This will of course intensify it just a little bit more because it's, you know, you're layering two colors on top of colors. So it will intensify it, but it'll also just really make sure it's locked down. And just a little bit on the tip of my nose. Okay, to finish up my face, I'm going to add a little bit of powder highlighter now. I know I have a little bit of highlighter showing through with that Glow IV, but I want to further enhance it with the powder. This is a crazy pigmented highlighter. It's the Rare Beauty highlighter in the shade Exhilarate, and I'm going to apply it just a little bit with a BK Beauty 108 brush. I love to hit top of my nose, like the top of the bridge of my nose and the very tip of my nose. Just these two areas. And you know, we've had like squirrels running back and forth on the roof, crows crowing, screaming, basically. It's spring is like springing outside, basically. Like all the animals are out and it's really hard to film. So if you hear any like random noises, it's not us. Okay, moving on to lips. I know I still have a little bit of powder, but before I dust that off, I'm going to apply one of my all-time favorite lip liners. This is the Makeup Forever Artist Pencil in Anywhere Caffeine. So let's get this on. Just one more note, it wouldn't be a signature makeup look of mine if I didn't fill in my Cupid's bow. Let's just take my finger and just give it a light blend. To finish my lip, one of my favorite products, and I've been talking about this a lot lately, I use this like Monday through Friday. It's like my go-to, the GIRLACTIK Jello Gloss Balm in the shade Barely Nude. They have a bunch of different colors. This one's just my favorite. So for this signature makeup look, I'm gonna apply this on top of that lip liner. It just makes your lips juicy and hydrated. We're like, how pretty is that? And it's not even a lipstick. I'm not even wearing lipstick, which is so nice. It's refreshing to have like that balance of like a lot of makeup everywhere else and then just like a glossy lip balm, tinted lip balm on your lips. Now the last step for this signature makeup look is using one of my probably my all-time favorite setting spray. Let's be real. It's the Veil Soft Focus Setting Spray from Hourglass. You know why I love this? Because I can spray and drench my face with it, and I know for certain it's not going to disrupt my perfectly set and blended makeup. So the sprayer on this is key. Let me show you. And that is the final step in my signature makeup look. As always, all the products that I use for my makeup looks will be linked in my description box, including my bundle that I have with GIRLACTIK. All of my essential and favorite products will be linked for you to shop. I hope you all enjoyed this signature makeup look. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like videos like this, you can click on this one right here. I think you'll really like it, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.